UFC 303 this Saturday in Vegas. Could it get any better? It sure can when you get in with my partners, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. It is a banger of the card, and the light heavyweight championship is on the line in the main event. New to DraftKings? Check this out. New customers who bet just $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. When you sign up, use the code Sonnen. DraftKings, the crown is yours. That's right. New customers can bet just $5 on anything and receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. From the much anticipated title fights to the exciting undercard bouts, DraftKings is giving customers a shot to get in on the action all night long. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. DraftKings is the one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you got a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers, use my promo code Sonnen. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Did you guys see Sean Strickland's video going around? He's sparring with a former K-1 champion, or he's sparring with a former K-1 fighter. Like, don't think you need to correct me in that section. I didn't know the gentleman. But I respect K-1. I know that if you're kickboxing with an actual kickboxer, it's a mess. Like that's when you find out what a sport that is. What an art, if you will, that is. But you don't find it out if you're sparring MMA against a kickboxer. It's got to be specific. Like, the threat of the takedown will change a kickboxer. So when you go with Sean Strickland, who doesn't ever take anybody down, like, just right off the bat, if you're good with striking, even if you're not an MMA guy, you could go get work with Strickland. Like, he will allow you to get work. So, and the reason I said I couldn't recognize this guy, he's in headgear. Sean's not in headgear. But when they're sparring, it appears that conditioning has become a factor. I mean, Sean is doing what he would like, and the other gentleman is really not firing back, which I'm not convinced is because of an overwhelm of technique. I assume there was fatigue, but when I do see it, I do wonder, how good are some of these guys? And I will never get my way. The closest I ever got was little Nogueira, who decided he was going to make an Olympic team when the Olympic Games were in Rio. Was that 2012? I believe it was. So, what I'm talking about is some of these guys, if you were to put them in a pure art, like mixed martial arts, is a combination of a number of arts. And while mixed martial arts does not exist in the Olympic Games, individual arts that when you put together in equal mixed martial arts do, for example, Taekwondo, for example, Judo, for example, freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, for example, boxing. So when you see a mixed martial artist, sometimes I do wonder just how far can they go in one of these specific disciplines. Like, let me throw one at you, okay? Kayla Harrison, who's as decorated of an amateur athlete as anyone that's ever done mixed martial arts. In fact, with 2 gold medals, I believe that would make her the most decorated amateur ever. So, and the same thing would go with Clarissa Shields, where when they come over to MMA and they're starting to pursue that, they will openly tell you that they could not just go sign up for their individual sport, whether it was boxing or case judo, and make the Olympic team. That even though they've done that before and even won the Olympic Games, because they're focused on MMA, they could not just go show up and make the team. To make the team, they would have to train and specialize and really focus in this one area. And that makes sense to me, and that's also what I've seen. And no matter how good a guy does in MMA, we go, wow, he's got really good hands. It's not as though he could just go to boxing. I don't think. I remember the first time my dad saw Vitor Belfort. And my dad said he should go to boxing. He should be fighting Mike Tyson. And I remember thinking, like, Dad, that is a massive leap. Vitor was like 19 or 20. And he looked quick. Vitor had something called the March step, where you would step in front so that each hand became a power hand. There was never a jab. And it was unique, and we hadn't seen it before. He was powerful. And he won quickly, but to make believe that he could just switch into boxing, oh, by the way, take on Mike Tyson. Like, it was just, I thought it was a massive leap when my dad said it. It was such a surprise to me. that I remembered all these years later. And then you look at somebody where I would tell you as a wrestler, I'm more than just a wrestler, I'm a wrestling fanatic. The best wrestler, and I don't mean decorated pedigree, I mean the one who could wrestle the best in MMA, as a matter of fact, in the history of MMA, is George St. Pierre. So if that statement's true, am I saying if we put a singlet on George, he's a Canadian, so we'll just use Canada, he shows up to the Olympic trials in Canada, he would make the Olympic team for wrestling, and that would be crazy. I think it would be crazy. There's no way for me to actually know, but I don't think you could do that. Like they don't translate and they don't totally carry over, and you go from this posture to this posture, and it's just different. I would think at the same time, Josh Koscheck could show up and make the Canadian Olympic team. That's true. Johnny Hendricks could show up and make the Olympic team in Canada. That's also true. Just two guys that come to mind, and George out-wrestled both of them. But he out-wrestled them not in wrestling, in MMA. So where is the change is what I'm suggesting. Like if Sean Strickland could go out and do that in a video to a K-1 fighter, does it mean that he could go out and be a K-1 fighter? Or if that fighter was even a K-1 champion, does that mean that Sean could go and do well or even be a K-1 champion? Like, I respect those arts in and of themselves, but should I? Is that wrong? Am I wrong? Was my father closer to right than I am? When he saw Vitor and he saw that power and he saw the march set, he come right at you. Was barely a heavyweight and winning the heavyweight tournament. Was my dad right? And guys in our sport greatly respect Abu Dhabi. That's the one. That's the one specific grappling event people in our sport really respect. Do we have somebody, do we have a good enough jiu-jitsu player who, while doing MMA, could go over, qualify or get an invite, and then win Abu Dhabi? Because when I watched what Francis Ngannou did to Tyson Fury, which is the single most remarkable sporting event of my life, the single most, I cannot explain that should not have happened, OMG moment of my life, was the 10 rounds that Francis had opposite Fury. A split oh my goodness, Francis Ngannou was one guy's opinion away from being the heavyweight champion of the world on his debut. Oh my goodness. At any rate, when you see that, can we all just agree that if we had brought it down to the amateur level, that Francis Ngannou could have made the Olympic team? The gentleman who did make the Olympic team in the heavyweight class from the country that Francis obtains a passport, so you understand, is 17 years old. He's a junior in high school. Can we agree, without even knowing who he is or even looking at him, can we agree that Francis Ngannou could beat him up based on what we saw him do with Fury? I don't know. It's one of those, I don't know. I would sure think so. I have the same thought with Conor McGregor. When he goes out for 30 minutes and beats up Floyd Mayweather, if we were to bring that down to an amateur level, and Ireland is very skilled and very known for their amateur boxers, but it was still a child, still a kid, versus a grown man in Conor. Can we agree that Conor could have gone down and made the Olympic team? I mean, the only reason Floyd beat him is because he got him tired, and it took him 30 minutes to do that. In amateur boxing, it's only 9 minutes in total. 3 3-minute rounds. Can we agree that Conor would have made the team in Ireland? And if so, and he goes to the Olympics, do you think he would have won them? Do you think he would have medaled? Like, for me, that's just an interesting concept. And the closest that we got was Little Nog. Little Nog, still fighting in the UFC, went through the process. And he won the Brazilian Nationals, which made him the #1 guy. And he went to the final box off. And it was kind of quiet, like how this worked, to the point that I don't know. He lost the final box off, but I think it was 2 out of 3, and I think he won one of them and he lost the other 2, or it was a split decision, like whatever happened, but he was that close, and it makes you wonder, well, what if he wasn't doing MMA at the same time? What if he wasn't practicing jiu-jitsu once a day? What if it was just all boxing? How far could have he gone? And I go down this road, not as an athlete, by the way. I go down this route as a coach and now a father. What if my son wants to go in to that sport of MMA, the sport that I know so well? Could I arm him with the absolute best way to train? Do I know the absolute best way to train? I think we would first default, the first pitfall in human thinking would be to default to what we did. And I'm stronger than that. I'm stronger in knowledge enough to not do that. Just because I did it doesn't make it so. But could I watch what somebody else did? And if I did, who would I be studying? And then you got to wonder, is that right? I mean, if Francis Ngannou can prepare and show up and have one professional licensed judge say that he should be heavyweight champion of the world, like if he can do that, apparently you don't need 14, 15 years twice a day, every day. Buckle down, hunker down. Apparently you don't. There's other ways. And Little Nog, certainly in shape, certainly aggressive and a good athlete, lots of things that would transfer, but as far as just the lefts and the rights hands, I mean, he went from not boxing to the national champion in Brazil pretty quickly. And then I see Sean Strickland, who only was kickboxing against a top kickboxer, and Sean Strickland is leading the dance. Like, just how far can you go? I wish more people would try. I truly do. I wish when the Olympics rolled around, some of our big stars would go try in their respective disciplines. But they don't see it the same way. They see the amateurs as something that you get out of. Once you get out of it, I put my time in, I never have to go back. They don't have the same respect for it, I suppose, as you would say, or appreciation that I do. I'm a fan. But I'm also curious. And when I see that Olympics and I see that flag go up and I hear that anthem and I see that person standing on the podium, my entire life I've always thought that person was the best. But for the first time ever, I'm starting to wonder, like, do the best always show up? Do the best even want to prove it through that platform? Or do they want to prove it through something else? Just how good in a K-1 straight up kickboxing situation, just how good would Sean Strickland have done?